Good morning, everyone. To make these adorable goddess form earrings, I'm starting with one length of 18 gauge round copper wire at dead soft. It's 13 inches long, and all I'm going to do is get the approximate center of it here. I'll take my chain link pliers or my chain nose pliers, pinch the wire in the approximate middle, and fold it in half. Mine didn't line up, so I'm just going to make a little snip. I could have measured the exact center, but I've got plenty of wire here, so I'm not worried about it. Once my 18 gauge is bent in half, I'm just going to line up the bottom to a measure, to the edge of a measure, and then measure back 3 inches. And you can mark that, or you can just put your finger there. I'm going to use my chain nose pliers and just grip the wire really tight so that I can make a very sharp bend. I'll go ahead and make sure to tap the opposite wires as well so that I have a nice V shape right there, and that's pretty good. I'll hold the very center of the wires there, and I'll take my loose ends and use my fingers to create a heart shape, half a heart shape. Make the wire cross over the center line where this comes down. So you've kind of got this. And right down here I'll just visualize a straight line. It's about 1/2 inch. And we can make adjustments, so don't worry. And just fold the wires back up, hold steady, and just make an upward bend for the bottom part of your heart. And then right here, about level with the other one, you can use your fingers and start the turn. Make one wire come over the front and the opposite wire come around the back. Just try to keep them lined up and bend them down to about here. And here is where I start to separate the wires so that I can work each side individually, or you can keep going and get my wires positioned just so, and then right about here I'll trim them back a little bit. Just to about the edge of the heart there. And then I'll switch my plier to my round nose. And with my round nose and just holding both frames together, making sure that they're even, and again I can still make adjustments after I cut them apart. I use my round nose and just make a quick cute turn here into a spiral. Just hold that curve so you can have some leverage on the wire. Just like that. Push it back slightly. Now I'll go to this other side. Make sure my hearts are lined up. And I'll do another spiral on this side. Just try to keep it similar to the previous one. And I'll use my fingers and just make adjustments to get them looking similar. I can use my pliers to help me as well. I'm going to open this one up slightly. This just helps me to hold on to them to make them similar. And once you get a shape that you like on both sides of your heart, that's pretty good. I'll go ahead and get right here and tap those two so that I slant my wires. Just like that. That's pretty good. Right about here, I'm almost to the place where I'm ready to separate them, but while my wires are slanted this way, I'm going to go ahead and use my thumb and curve the body of the wire, both of them, so that it crosses the center of my heart. And now I'm going to snip them apart. You can open them up like a little book, and you've got mirrored earrings here. But while they're here, let's go ahead and mark this position with a Sharpie marker so that we get the same turn on both earrings, just right there. And that can be to your liking. Mine is about 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch. This is 3/4 of an inch from this cross, from this intersection to where they cross the top. Okay, so from here to here, it's about 3/4 of an inch. Now that you have both of them marked, you can take your round nose pliers, grip that mark, and you'll want to stay at the same position on your plier too, so both of your loops end up the same. You're going to bend it in the opposite direction of the turn, come all the way around the front of your earring, change your plier position, continue the turn, and then just up here, take a slight back turn to level that loop out. And that's pretty good. I'll make sure that my earrings are sitting opposite each other, so the curl and the curl are on opposite sides, so that I can make sure to turn the front of this loop to the front of the earring. So I'll grip it right there at the mark, right about at the same depth of my plier that I used for the previous one. And I'll turn over the plier, over the front of the earring, and I'm trying to stay underneath the camera here too, so I'll make a complete 360 and then I'll just do a little back turn to level the loop out. And that's pretty good. And then if you can hold it with your fingers, you can hold this position. Otherwise, you can take a flat plier, hold that loop, not so tight that you're going to dent the wire, but just enough that you have control over it. And use your fingernail and cause a nice curve coming back into the direction of the heart. You just want it to slant nicely into that position. And then I can use the edge of my plier and make that a little more graceful, a little more narrow, just like that. And when you get the shape as you like it, I'm just going to turn that loop a little bit to upright the shape a little bit. And right here at the intersection, put your finger and slightly curve in the opposite direction, just like that. Okay, so cute. And now let's do the opposite goddess, the opposite earring. I'll just hold the form right there with my finger. And shape this curve so that it crosses the intersection of my form. Then I can use my pliers. Just give a little squeeze right there to make it a little more slender. Use your plier here at the neck if you need to turn it a little more upright. And then we can look at both of our forms and see that they're fairly similar at the top here. So now I'll take and hold this intersection. Hold this intersection right here and use my finger and turn the wire to the opposite side to cause a little S curve right there. And that's super cute. You should have about 1/4 of an inch or so hanging off of the bottom, maybe a little bit more. Mine are a little uneven, so I'll just snip this to about 1/4 of an inch. And it's probably a little less than 1/4 of an inch. It's probably more like 4 millimeter. You don't want too much wire there, just enough to turn it back. And then once you have your shape looking the way you want it, I like to just turn them back into book form and line them up to make sure that they look similar enough for my liking, and they do. I might adjust the one up here, but they're handmade earrings, so that's beautifully similar enough. And now I'll go ahead and before I turn and lock down this wire, I can make any kind of corrections to shapes here if I want to, like this. I'm just going to make it a little more elegant by pressing that little area that was broad, and that's pretty. That's a little more elegant. It gives me room to hammer that if I want it also before I lock anything down. I can still shift wires around. So on this side, the same thing. That's a little bit curvier than I wanted it. So right here, I'll reduce some of the curve by tapping gently, ever so gently, and slimming that out a little bit. I'll put them up against each other. They're beautiful. And I'm happy with them that way. Might pinch here and pinch here as well. Just to take that little bend out of the wire. Just work yours until you love them. Make gentle, patient moves. And then when you have the form that you love, decide if you're going to hammer anything. And if so, I'll do a quick demonstration of a hammer. If I wanted to hammer this, I can still pull it forward and out a little bit to reach it. Make sure that you're bending right here, just enough to reach it. Make sure that you don't hammer anything else that you don't want. This is an optional step. You don't have to do this at all. Once I have that hammered, I'll just gently push this wire back where I want her, right there. Tap right here and blend some of that hammer into the straight wire. And I love that. Now I might go ahead and hammer this side as well. Just make sure everything's flat and take your time. Strike only the part of the wire that you want to hammer. And if I want to hammer this little curve, like I do, I'm going to go ahead and just bring her out so that I can reach it. I'm not changing the curve at all, I'm just bringing it out to where I can reach it. And then once it's hammered, I can push everything right back into shape, and that's beautiful. Just sand that a little bit. And now when you're ready, you can go ahead and fold this little bit back, or if you want to hammer this little bit, You know, you could have done that while it was pulled out there. For me, I'm just going to leave it where it's at. I'm going to get right up to the point, and without changing anything, without pulling or pushing, I'm just going to make a back bend in this wire and fold it straight over itself and lock it into position, just like we've done all of our other earrings. Once I get it far enough and it's in position where I want it, then I will firmly pinch. Just going to scooch it a little bit. Once it's there where I want it, I'm going to take a real hard squeeze, almost as if to dent the wire a little bit. You see that? To lock it in position. And you just want to make sure that you don't see that little cut end, that it's folded right back on itself. So cute. So now let's do the other one. To the middle of my earring. And before I lock that wire down, I'll just do some comparisons to the other one. And it's beautiful. I love it. They look similar. I can sand these down if I need to, and I will off camera, but I'm ready to lock this wire down. So I'll just get it into its position, hold it firmly with my finger, and then take this end and just do a back bend onto itself. And make sure that there's enough there that you make it all the way over that wire. And when you have it in position where you want it, I just scooch mine over slightly. Then I'm going to lock it down with a nice hearty squeeze on that wire to cause just the slightest dent right there, so I know it's locked in. Look at how adorable they turned out. You can just make little adjustments as you need to. I might squeeze right here and move that curl in a little bit. It's a little bit closer, and it looks like two beautiful goddess forms that you can either wear like this, or you can add beautiful beads by tying them in anywhere that you please. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And they were just too cute not to give you this one. I know we've been doing a lot of earrings, and I was going to move on to pendants, and I will here after this, but this one was just too cute not to give you. All right, and then you can put your favorite earring hooks on them and enjoy them. And I'll show you a few more examples here in just a couple of seconds of some little variations that you can do that make these just even more adorable. Put them onto my ear wires, and they're adorable. Certainly we would have sanded, cleaned, and polished these up before we put the ear wire or any beads on, so that we can just enjoy the forms without having to worry about finishing underneath the beads. So you want to do all your work that you intend to do on these now, or just enjoy them as they are. But if you're going to add beads, get them sanded and polished so that you don't have to do that around your beads. Okay, if you need to tie things together, I don't think you do, but you could right here and right here with a couple of small stitches. And you could also make them a little bit smaller like these. So cute. And then flare that little one out instead of just turning it back. I made the hearts a little smaller so that I had a little more room. I'm going to pull that out and hammer it and let it be an accent to this pair. And that's adorable too. Here's another small pair after they've been cleaned up, and all I did down here was I put a little curl at the end of that wire instead of tying it down, and it gives a whole different look, and those are adorable too. Ooh, super cute. And then here is yet another variation where instead of at the top making a loop like this, I did our little bumpy fold that we know how to do on the bottom of pendants all the time. And all I did there was just turn the wire upright on itself and then folded it to the right to create elegance and curled back into center. And then that is yet another look. I made this next pair a little bit bigger and more like a leaf. So this was really cute too. Again, instead of curling up the top, I went ahead and just did that little bump out and put a jump ring there so it would sit into my earring evenly. But I made a very formed heart here and brought the inside wire down instead of to a curl and hammered it with some texture, and then just basically did the same center wire with the closure down here. And this is another cute one that you can add some beads onto, or a bead in this little spot up here, and enjoy that. Those are super cute. You could also weave an additional wire to the outside of this heart frame here and bring the additional wire inside for design, the extensions of them inside. Okay, just some more ideas for you. So now I'll give you this little tutorial, and please, if you make any or enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment or drop a picture on my business page on Facebook, Perfectly Twisted Jewelry, and show me your adorable earrings. I would love to see your creations. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you for the next one.